Have you ever walked into Dollar Tree, looked at a laundry hamper and said, hey, that would be perfect for Christmas? Maybe, and maybe not. But I bet you after you watch this video, I'll have you looking at laundry hampers in a whole new way. Today we're making a light up snowman, a very festive Christmas tree, the cutest and most adorable reindeer basket you've ever seen, and a huge, impressive Santa Claus who's giving me the side eye right now. And thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video, and a little bit more about them in just a minute. First, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Shannon from TheDailyDIYer.com. And we're going to go ahead and dive right into our very first laundry hamper Christmas project, that adorable reindeer basket that I was talking about. We are going to start with one hamper from Dollar Tree. And you're also going to need some jute. Now you can get this from Dollar Tree, but I've done the math here for you. You would need to buy 11 of these nautical rope packs from Dollar Tree, which would cost $13.75, or you can head to Hobby Lobby and get this giant pack for $10.99. And it's actually the perfect amount for this project. You're also gonna need some of these 10 snips. You see these in my projects all the time. They're only $5 at Walmart. So much easier to cut through plastics like this than your regular scissors. I'll be sure to link these down below for you, but we're going to take those 10 snips and just cut the top edge of our hamper off before we start moving on to the next step, which is adding our rope. So I also highly recommend a cordless glue gun, especially for bigger projects. It's so much easier to add glue so you're not stuck to a wall. And several of these projects today are going to be larger size, so it'll just come in so much handier. But if not, use what you got. We're going to start adding the jute with that hot glue. We do want to make sure we have a good first row of rope all the way around the bottom. So make sure to add glue completely all the way around the bottom edge until you get back to the beginning. And then we're going to add some glue onto the top of the rope where we started, and also on the basket. That way we have a really good start as we start coiling this around and building the rope on top of each other. And as you can imagine, it's pretty much the same process throughout this. As we completely cover the basket in rope, you're just going to want to make sure to keep some hot glue sticks on hand because you're going to go through quite a bit of glue too. So go ahead, coil your rope all the way up the basket until you get to that top edge.
Waiting for Santa tonight. He climbs down the chimney at the speed of light while we're dancing around the Christmas tree. Hugging and kissing, just you and me. Carolers are singing outside our door. Lovely songs we all heard before.
All right, so here we are finally getting somewhere, getting very close to the top. I wanted to give you a more close-up look of the end process here. As we get to the very top edge, we are going to actually stack the rope on top of itself and on top of that top edge to cover up any of those rough cuts. Then once you get to the very end, just cut off your rope and make sure you have everything secured down into place with that hot glue. So here's a look at the inside. We're going to address that here in just a minute, but first we're also going to add some handles onto this basket. So just took a little part of the excess jute and rope that was left over, put 2 beads of glue and lines on the inside of the basket, and made a U-shaped handle.
On the frozen lake, saying hi to every friendly face, and later we warm up by the fire.
Now we're going to finish the inside of the basket off. If you want, you can leave it as is, or you can add some burlap fabric to the inside here. It'll just make it look a little bit more nicer, but totally up to you. Depends on how you're going to be using your basket. So I just took some of those pieces and hot glued them in a crisscross shape at the bottom, and then took a roll of this burlap and winded it around the inside edge of the basket and did 2 layers to make sure I got all of that plastic covered up. Then the fun part, where we can actually start decorating and making our basket look like a reindeer. So I have this plaid ribbon, so I'm using that to add some detail to the bottom edge, hot gluing it around to make a scarf. Now we're going to make the little muzzle and nose of the reindeer with some white felt. So just fold it in half and cut a half circle, open it up, and you'll have a nice circle cut out. And make sure to scale it and size it down so it looks nice on the front of your basket. We're also going to take some black felt and cut out a nose for the reindeer. And we are going to hot glue these 2 pieces together and then hot glue it straight onto the middle of the basket above the scarf.
Merry Christmas.
So I'm using some puffy paint here to create some U-shapes for the eyes. I definitely wish I would have had some black yarn or some black string, because that would have given me a little bit more wiggle room as to making those eyes look a little more even, but black paint works too. I also used it to create the mouth of the reindeer, but did he not just turn out so cute? I love that you can put this next to your Christmas tree. You can use it for blankets. You can use it for kids' toys, shoes by the front door. You put Advent presents in there, books in there, so many different uses, but he is just so adorable. Is that not the cutest thing? I am so in love with this, and I hope you guys will give this one a try too. Find a good spot for it, or like I said, makes a really great gift idea too. I love Christmas time. I love the Christmas tree. I love everything that goes along with the Christmas season, but I have to say, as soon as Christmas is over, I tend to slip into those wintertime blues. I do not like to hibernate. I like to stay busy, but unfortunately, wintertime is hard. With the sun going down early and it being so cold here in the Midwest, it's hard to get a lot of things done. I'm sure some of you can relate to that too. I even have some really great friends that kind of struggle with this wintertime blues as well. But this year, I am so not worried about it because I have BetterHelp on my side. And thank you to them for sponsoring this video. If you've never heard of BetterHelp, they connect you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you unbiased and helpful advice. And to be honest, I completely understand it can be very difficult to start therapy, especially if you have a hard time finding a therapist in your area. But what I appreciate most about BetterHelp is that there are different options for your therapy sessions, including phone calls, video chats, and even messaging, whatever is most comfortable for you. And I personally have used all three. BetterHelp can match you with one of over 30,000 therapists in their network, which gives you access to a wider range of expertise than may be available in your own area. To get started, you fill out a questionnaire which helps you assess your specific needs, and then you'll be matched with a therapist in most cases within 48 hours. And with a busy schedule, I love that you can schedule your therapy sessions when it is convenient for you. If you think you might benefit from therapy, consider BetterHelp. You can go to betterhelp.com/dailydiy or click the link in the description box. That will give you 10% off your first month. And no worries if you're not a fan of the first therapist that they connect you with. That's actually pretty common when it comes to therapy. You can actually switch therapists at no additional cost. And there's no worry about your insurance or if they're in network or anything like that. People spend hours in the gym every week, so why not give your mind that same attention? Over 4 million people have used BetterHelp, including myself, to live a happier and healthier life. So again, if you think you can benefit from therapy, consider BetterHelp. You can go to betterhelp.com/dailydiy or have a convenient link down in the description box. Go ahead, click that. It will save you 10% off of BetterHelp in your first month, so you can see if you can get connected with a therapist to see if it'll help you. Now we're gonna work on that festive Christmas tree. You're gonna need a laundry hamper, obviously from Dollar Tree. We're gonna take and flip this one upside down though. You're also gonna need some barbecue skewers from Dollar Tree, the longer ones. You're gonna need a tree topper, again from Dollar Tree, and some zip ties. So we're simply gonna take one of those barbecue skewers and we're gonna start zip tying them around the edge of our hamper, just using some zip ties to attach in 2 different places. So I did one towards the bottom and one more towards the top. Once you get it tightened on there, go ahead and take some scissors, or I like to use wire cutters, it's a little bit easier to get through that thicker plastic. You could use your 10 snips too here, and then just flip the chunkier part of the zip tie, kind of twist it to the inside of the basket. Then we're gonna add another one towards the top, and as I was adding these skewers around the edges evenly, I found it a little bit easier to add the zip ties on, just barely starting them and tightening them, and then adding the skewer down the center, tightening it all the way, and then trimming off the edges and flipping those chunkier parts to the inside of the basket. I used about 6, maybe 7 or 8 of these, depending on how much support you want to use. You probably could even get away with like 5 of them if you wanted to get 2 out of one of the packs of bamboo skewers, but you just want some good structure and support for our tree. So let's start working on the top of this. We're going to gather the points of our skewers at the top, and then a trick here is just take a rubber band and rubber band those all together, and then you can add your tree topper to the top here, just using a little bit of hot glue to stick it down so it doesn't come back off. So here is a rough outline of our Christmas tree, and then we're going to start decorating it. What are we going to add on here to make it look like a Christmas tree? We're going to head back into Dollar Tree and grab some of this intensely looking garland, and as you can see, they have lots of different varieties to choose from. I'm going to be plain Jane here and just grab the solid green garland, but you get creative as you want here. And I did end up using about 8 different strings of this, so depending on how much you want, you can buy more if you really want a lot of coverage. 8 seemed to be about a good happy medium. It wasn't too sparse, but it also wasn't overly covered. So we're going to start just tying one end onto the basket and then winding it around and then tying that other end onto the basket. And we're going to continue this process just building on basically like our reindeer basket and covering it in rows. And once I got towards the top of the basket where I ran out of the wire to start or to keep all that on there, I did grab out my hot glue gun and start tacking it down here and there. You're also going to need to add some of the glue to the bamboo skewers so it doesn't slide up and down on you.
Christmas gifted Santa, who comes down the chimney late at night, who gives every heart a lift to Santa, who is pulled by reindeer on his flight. From house to house he'll go, putting on his show. Don't ask me how he's done in time, I just know he seems to do just fine.
Once you get towards the top, just keep going around, and I also added some hot glue onto the actual star to start kind of covering up some of the base of the star. And then I noticed that you could still see the bottom of the basket edge, so I took some leftover garland and went through that with some hot glue and covered it up with some more garland. I even had more garland left over, so what I did is found any kind of bare spots and glued those into place here and there too. We're gonna give this tree some lights, and I absolutely love these fairy lights from Amazon because they are waterproof, so you can use them outside, but they also come with a remote and different variations of modes you can put them in. So you can just have them on solid, or there's like 8 different settings you can make them twinkle in. So I just wrap those around. You don't see a wire at all, like the bigger Christmas lights, and you just kind of tuck it in and it stays on there. Here's the cool remote functions that it has. Easy to put outside and be able to just from your window turn it off and on if you want. And then we're also going to add some more decorations, like some smaller ornaments. I had these left over from another project and just hot glued those around onto the garland, and in some spots also onto the basket or onto the bamboo skewers, just so they would have something to hold on to.
Underneath the mistletoe, and I've gotten you a present that I put under the tree. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for you and me.
Our outdoors have a whole Grinchy theme that we add to every year, and this just seemed to be so fitting and fit in perfect with our Grinchy decor. So this is our new addition to our front porch. It looks so cute during the day, but obviously once you turn those lights on, it looks super cute too. Now we're going to make a lighted snowman using 3 hampers from Dollar Tree and those same lights we used in the last project, which I will link down below for you because they are so great for Christmas decor. So since we have this first hamper flipped upside down, we're going to add some glue around the bottom edge and set the next basket right side up down in the glue, and then add some glue to the next hamper on the handles and the one before its handles as well. And we're going to offset those handles, one on each side, side, one in the front and the back, so it will all stay connected together. Now it's time to add those fairy lights. Like I said, the exact same ones from our last project. We're going to feed them through the holes that are already in the bottoms of these baskets. And it takes a little bit of patience. You kind of got to wiggle them up and through each end and then back down again and then back up again, so you get nice coverage of lights throughout the whole middle of the snowman. So I just have the battery pack of the lights in the middle on the inside, or you can put it outside on the back, wherever you want to hide it. And then you can see all those lights are kind of entangled, entwined in the center of this. And then we're going to kind of conceal some of what is looking like a hamper here with some white tulle. So this, we're going to use some hot glue and just run a bead of glue along the back side and then apply the tulle and start wrapping the tulle around and around. So you can use like a light white cotton fabric that would hide the wires of the basket a little bit more, but I thought it was still pretty, and you can also still see the lights through it really well during the daytime, whereas the white cotton fabric, you might just see the lights during the evening time, but totally up to you depending on the look that you're going for. So I really wanted to give this snowman a top hat, but the ones that I had were so small, it just didn't look right. But I did have these Santa chair decor covers from Hobby Lobby in a set of 4. They were $10, 50% off. That made them $5 for 4, so still only $1.25 for each one of these hats. And they are pretty good sized, and they were actually the perfect size to go on top of these hampers. I did add some batting to the inside of this to kind of give it a little bit more bulk on the top, and it didn't just, you know, look like a bunch of fabric folded over. So our snowman is just going to have a Santa hat here, but I think you could also maybe even create some earmuffs. That would be cute, or if you can find a larger top hat to work, then you can have a whole bunch of snowmen if you want to make several of these. We're going to use some large black buttons for the buttons on the front of our snowman for the eyeballs, and then some smaller sized black buttons for his smile. And then I was able to find some orange felt that I had stashed away for a carrot nose that I just freehand cut out with some scissors and then hot glued onto the front. Of course, our snowman needs a scarf, so I had a bunch of this red and white checked fabric that I think was from Valentine's Day one year. Works great for Christmas time too. I'm just cutting a big length of it off of the fabric that I had, and then we're gonna wrap it around where the top 2 hampers meet in the middle. Tie it on, we're gonna cut it down to size so it's not too long, and then cut little slits in the ends to give it a frayed and French look. And I also felt like he needed some arms, and I had those barbecue skewers from our last project, and I was like, you know what, this would make the perfect little arms for our snowman. So I grabbed out those longer barbecue skewers and some smaller ones, cut down some smaller pieces to make some fingers, hot glued those on there, and then we're going to take those and just stick them right into the sides and through the tulle of the snowman, and use a little bit of hot glue to keep them in place. So just like our Christmas tree, I'm able to use a remote control to turn this off and on, or make the lights twinkle in different variety of modes. But this guy is about 4 foot tall, so he's a pretty good size, and I feel like a lot of larger sized Christmas decor can be extremely expensive. This guy was definitely not, only less than about $10 to make, and so adorable too. So I've saved the biggest project for last, and I have to thank Bethany from Bargain Bethany. This is 100% her idea. We're just gonna put our own little spin and twist on it. She created this amazing nutcracker using hampers from Dollar Tree. We're gonna put our own, like I said, little spin on it, but I definitely reached out to her first for her blessing and for her permission. And she also gave me a few extra little tips and tricks that'll hopefully help this project come together. But you and we are gonna tackle this project together. So let's go. So per Bethany's instructions, you're gonna need a pizza pan, 3 hampers from Dollar Tree, along with some foam board and some poster board, and that's gonna create the basic structure of this. Now, instead of a nutcracker, we're gonna make a Santa Claus. So we're gonna start with our pizza pan as the base, and you're gonna need 2 pieces of foam board for the legs. Now, I started off wrong right off the bat, so learn from my mistake here. Instead of rolling it this way, which creates shorter legs, you need to flip it the other way to roll it long ways so that you have longer legs, and you need 2 of these total. Once you get them all wrapped up, we're going to use a combination of some hot glue and some packing tape to keep these looking like a cylinder. So here is the first one. We're going to repeat this process and do the same thing to the second leg. To decorate them, we're going to use black and red foam board. I stack them on top of each other and then cut them down the center lengthwise. We have 2 pieces of each, 1 for each leg. We're going to put the red on first, and we're just going to cut it down to size, use some hot glue to keep it in place around the foam board, and then add the black onto the bottom, again using some hot glue, and repeat this for the second leg. Then we're going to take these legs over to the pizza pan, add a ton of hot glue onto the bottom here, and then set them side by side on the pizza pan. Here's where I realized I did something wrong, because once I went to go to put the hamper on, it went way far down, and then I was like, oh, no, I did the legs wrong. So I just needed to add some height in there. So I found an old shipping box that I had, and I just used some hot glue and glued that onto the top of the legs. And it gave me just the right amount of height that I needed to then be able to put the hamper upside down on top of there. But I did use some hot glue and some packing tape to make sure I had a good stable base. Now you can see whenever I go to set the hamper on top of this, it goes down just a little bit over the legs, but you don't see that box inside there. We're going to take some more hot glue, add it to the bottom of the next hamper, and line those up. This one's going to be right side up, and then take some more glue, add some glue to the handles of that one and your new hamper, offset those, and set that one upside down to create the torso of our Santa Claus. Now we're going to cover up those baskets with some poster board. In this case, I'm using all red since we're doing Santa Claus, but Bethany did gold here and then red for the top. So get creative, whatever kind of figure that you're creating, pick the colors that coordinate. We're going to do 2 red ones here on the bottom, and it's going to go over the 2 bottom hampers inside the edges of the rim of the hampers. And then we're going to wrap it all the way around so you don't see any of the wires of the hamper. Once those are glued on, we're going to work on the top half. We're actually just going to add some hot glue here around where the hampers meet and connect in the middle. That was a good tip that Bethany gave me to make sure I did as I was working on this project. So thank you, Bethany. And we are just going to hot glue one on the front and one on the back. I was feeling pretty optimistic at this point as I was starting to see the shape of a Santa come together. And then here we're going to make some arms. So I cut my poster board in half and then rolled them up and hot glued the ends together to make another cylinder. Again, here I wish I would have cut them lengthwise instead of the widthwise to make my arms longer, but that's just something that you kind of learn along the way. Totally up to you how you want to do it. Bethany's did the long way and I think it looks better. But you'll see in the end, I kind of elongated the arms a little bit with the help of a special supply, so keep watching for that. But we're going to add these arms onto the side. We're going to line them up with the top of the poster board and add an arm, one on each side with some hot glue. So for Bethany, she made a nutcracker head, but we're making a Santa head, so I had to make a little bit of adjustments here. So I kind of made this up as I went, and I took some white foam board, and I am adding 2 pieces to the inside edge of the hamper so that it was a little bit shorter on the inside and wasn't too tall. So once I get those white poster boards put together, it doesn't have to look really nice because we're going to use some of this flesh tone craft foam from the craft store, and we're going to use that to kind of cover up some of the white poster board, and we're just going to hot glue that onto the front. Then for the Santa hat, we needed to add a little bit of bulk in here, and I didn't want to add like stuffing or polyfill or anything, so I had another poster board. We're just going to set that on the inside of the white poster board, sat on top of the hamper on the inside, and it's just going to give us just enough support for this hat, which is the same one we used in our last project with the snowman. So one of the chair decorative pieces from Hobby Lobby that has the oversized Santa hat, another one that fit perfectly on the top of this poster board, and I just pulled it over the front of the foam and as far down in the back as I could. And then here's our special little supply. So it is a clear ornament from Dollar Tree. We are going to paint these white, and then we're going to add the same whatever color flesh tone that you use for your Santa or nutcracker. You're going to paint these ornaments. So white is going to give us a nice base coat because we're going to use some acrylic paint to go over it in our flesh tone, and then that's going to give us a little bit more of a darker tone and color. Let those dry, and those are going to be the hands for our nutcracker. But while those are drying, we're going to come in with all of our faux fur to dress up our Santa Claus. So I added some to the tops of the boots and some other places as well. You're going to add some of that faux fur to the bottoms of your arms, right where we're going to add those ornaments here in just a little bit. So just a small piece right around each side. Bethany used the floor mops from Dollar Tree or the Swiffer mops from Dollar Tree as the little sideburns on her nutcracker, which I thought was genius. But I had enough of this faux fur to use that for mine, but totally up to you. I thought it was so smart to use those little dusters from Dollar Tree because that works great too. Then I'm adding a larger piece of this faux fur for his beard. The only thing I did is I just kind of rounded out the bottom so it wasn't a square piece and had a little bit more curve to the sides. And then of course, getting a little bit more detailed here, adding a mustache. And then we're also going to add a piece of that same foam for a nose. I just cut it in a triangle and cut the top point of the triangle off. We're going to use some felt to hand cut out some pieces to create some eyes. So some white for the background, blue for the eyeballs, and some black for the pupils, a little white piece for a little glistening in his eye, and some black to create a small eyelid. Then we're going to take those eyes over to our Santa Claus and hot glue them on. Just make sure you stand back to make sure you get them evenly spaced so we don't have like a googly-eyed looking Santa Claus. And then also gave him some bushy, furry eyebrows too. It took a few coats of the paint, but our ornaments are finally painted and dried. I added a little bit of hot glue up on the inside of the poster board there, and then just put the ornaments right at the bottom. So he's really starting to come together now. It's all the little details that are really going to make this look like a true Santa Claus, and that is being some more of that faux fur. So I took a small strip, ran it right down the center to create his fur on his coat, cut that down to size, and then added some more fur around the bottom hamper. Now I didn't have black ribbon that was wide enough to make a belt, but I did have some felt. So we're gonna cut that into 3-inch strips. I like using the rotary cutter for this versus scissors because that's gonna give me a much more precise cut and straight cut, so it'll all kind of piece together as we add this around the bottom poster board and over the fur. And last but not least, he needs a belt buckle. So I had this gold ribbon stuff from Dollar Tree. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's the perfect color gold to make a belt buckle and the right width. So I just cut it into a square and then cut a smaller square out of the center. And that is going to make a really simple and easy belt buckle for our Santa. Then just a little bit more hot glue right in the center of the belt to hot glue our belt buckle on. And then the moment of truth, moving this big guy into place without him falling over, which I was luckily able to do. And finally, I have had this vision to have a giant Santa Claus next to my she shed Christmas tree for so long. And finally, he has come to life. I kept looking at the really beautiful Santa Clauses at Home Goods and places like that, but they were over $200 and I just could never bring myself to spend that much on a decorative piece that was going to be out for a short amount of time. So with this, I was able to do this very budget friendly. I would say under $30 for sure. For something this big, he's over 6 feet tall. I think I got a pretty good bargain. Just took a little bit of time and some elbow grease and some mind bending to try to figure out how to make this all work and come together. But definitely thank you to Bethany and her tutorial for helping this Santa Claus come to life. I have to say, not only is this Santa Claus my favorite project from this whole video, but it's also my absolute favorite project of the whole Christmas season. But you let me know down in the comments below, which one is your favorite? If you haven't yet, please join the DIY family and hit that subscribe button and the bell so you never miss a new video that I post here every single week. There's another Dollar Tree DIY video popping up on your screen. Go ahead and click that thumbnail, and I will see you over there for more budget-friendly DIYs. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Have a creative day.